Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. The Indiana Fever are back in action today, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I hope this game is a lot more entertaining than what we just watched against the Atlanta Dream. Yes, it was a win. Yes, the Indiana Fever got the job done. But if we're talking about the quality of basketball and the viewing experience, that game was rough. It was a difficult watch from start to finish. I know, a win is a win, and at the end of the day, that's what matters most. But come on now, we all watched that game. The pace was slow, the offense looked stagnant, and it felt like both teams were struggling to get anything going for long stretches. If the Indiana Fever continue playing that style of basketball, they're going to have a lot of people reaching for coffee before halftime. Now, here's the thing. The Indiana Fever have something that no other team in the league has, and that something is Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark carries a responsibility that no other player in the WNBA has to carry. Every player is expected to perform. Every player is expected to help their team win games. But Caitlin Clark has an additional burden on her shoulders. She has to entertain. Think about it. When fans buy tickets to see Caitlin Clark, they're expecting something special. They're expecting deep three-pointers. They're expecting incredible passes. They're expecting fast breaks and highlight plays. They're expecting the type of basketball that gets people out of their seats. Nobody places those expectations on anyone else. Caitlin Clark has to win games. Caitlin Clark has to be productive. Caitlin Clark has to be efficient. And on top of all that, Caitlin Clark has to provide entertainment value every single night. That's a unique situation. The Indiana Fever need to understand that winning and entertaining are not mutually exclusive. You can do both. You can push the pace and still play winning basketball. You can let Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark and still be successful. And that's where Stephanie White comes into this discussion. I think this matchup against the New York Liberty is a massive opportunity. The New York Liberty are still talented, nobody is denying that. You look at that roster and you still see Breanna Stewart, you still see Jonquel Jones, you still see Sabrina, you still see Satu, you still see Leonie Febick, you still see Marina Johannes. On paper, that's a scary group. Coming into the season, a lot of people looked at the New York Liberty and thought they were the team to beat. When you start naming Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, Sabrina, Satu, Leonie Febick, and Marina Johannes all on the same roster, it's easy to understand why. But things haven't gone perfectly. Injuries have been an issue, availability has been an issue, consistency has been an issue. That's why I believe this is a game the Indiana Fever can absolutely steal. The opportunity is there. The first thing the Indiana Fever must do is increase the tempo. Everything starts there. Stephanie White has to embrace the style that works best for Caitlin Clark. The Fever need to get out and run. They need to attack before the defense gets set. They need to create transition opportunities. The New York Liberty are a big basketball team. Jonquel Jones is big, Breanna Stewart is big, Leonie Febick has size. This roster has length all over the floor. When you're playing against a team with that much size, the last thing you want to do is spend the entire game operating in the half court. That's playing directly into their strengths. You want to make them run. You want to make them defend in transition. You want to make them uncomfortable. And we know that's when Caitlin Clark is at her best, when she's pushing the ball, when she's making quick decisions, when she's finding open teammates, and when she's able to attack before the defense gets organized. That's when the Indiana Fever offense looks dangerous. So the number one key is simple. Push the pace. Run the floor, create transition baskets, make the New York Liberty work. The second key is Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston has to show up in a major way, and I'm talking about both ends of the floor. First of all, let's start with the screens. Aaliyah Boston, can we get some strong screens tonight? Can we get some screens that create real separation for Caitlin Clark?
Because when Aaliyah Boston sets effective screens, everything changes. The offense flows better, the spacing improves, the defense has to make difficult decisions, and Caitlin Clark gets more opportunities to attack. But beyond the screens, this is a statement game for Aaliyah Boston. She's going against Jonquel Jones. For a long time, Jonquel Jones has been viewed as one of the premier centers in the league. This is an opportunity for Aaliyah Boston to remind everybody that she's right there in that conversation. This is a chance for Aaliyah Boston to establish herself. We've seen games where Aaliyah Boston dominates. We've also seen games where she disappears for stretches. The Indiana Fever cannot afford one of those disappearing acts tonight, not against this opponent, not in a game this important. The Fever need the aggressive version of Aaliyah Boston, the confident version, the physical version, the version that's attacking rebounds and finishing around the basket. That's the player they need tonight. The third key is Caitlin Clark simply being Caitlin Clark. I don't want hesitation. I don't want overthinking. I don't want passivity. I want aggression. If Caitlin Clark misses shots, that's fine. Keep shooting. If she's 2 for 12, keep shooting. If she's 2 for 15, keep shooting. The Indiana Fever are at their best when Caitlin Clark is attacking. Get downhill, attack the paint, pull up from deep, put pressure on the defense, make defenders uncomfortable. I want the full Caitlin Clark experience. I want the confidence. I want the energy. I want the creativity. I want the playmaking. Because when Caitlin Clark is fully engaged, the entire team benefits. Now, let's talk about something that continues to frustrate a lot of Fever fans: the rotations. Stephanie White, this is where you've got to get it right. The Indiana Fever need consistency. Caitlin Clark needs consistent minutes. She needs time to develop rhythm. She needs time to settle into the game. Sometimes it feels like she's getting pulled out just when she's starting to get comfortable. Let her play. Let her build momentum. Let her find her groove. I think she needs significant minutes in this game. This is not the time to be overly cautious with rotations. And while we're discussing rotations, let's talk about Lexi Hull. I don't know what's happening there. It feels like Lexi Hull's role has become less clear recently. Meanwhile, Raven Johnson seems to be receiving more opportunities. That's something worth monitoring, because Lexi Hull brings energy, defense, and effort every time she's on the floor. The Indiana Fever also need to consider tightening the rotation overall. Playing 11 players every night can make it difficult for anyone to establish consistency. At some point, roles need to become more defined. At some point, players need to know exactly where they stand. And finally, we have to talk about defense. The defensive effort against the Atlanta Dream was one of the few things I really liked. That intensity has to show up again. The Indiana Fever need that same energy, the same focus, the same commitment. But one thing I don't want to see is excessive switching. Against a team with this much size, switching everything can become a problem. You don't want Kelsey Mitchell ending up on Breanna Stewart. You don't want Caitlin Clark ending up on Jonquel Jones. Those are mismatches that favor the New York Liberty. Instead, fight through screens, show help when necessary, communicate, rotate, recover. Play disciplined team defense. That's the formula. The guards need to stay connected. The bigs need to show and recover. Everyone needs to communicate. And Kelsey Mitchell has to stay engaged defensively. Be in help position. Be ready to rotate. Be ready to support teammates. If the Indiana Fever do those things, they absolutely have a chance to win this basketball game. The talent is there. The opportunity is there. The matchup is there. Now it's about execution. Can Stephanie White push the right buttons? Can Caitlin Clark deliver another big performance? Can Aaliyah Boston rise to the challenge against Jonquel Jones? Can Kelsey Mitchell provide consistent scoring? Can Lexi Hull and Raven Johnson contribute valuable minutes? Those questions are about to be answered. Get down in the comments and let me know what you think. Do you think the Indiana Fever can pull off the upset against the New York Liberty? Let me know your score predictions. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel.